During January of '06 through July of '06, roughly 7 months this past year, a group of 18 of us, faculty, staff, and one student, have been working on a vision for the future for the university and trying to come to some conclusion about how this university would operate 5 years from now. And it was intended to answer two questions. What is Eastern Michigan University, and where is it headed? And Art, in the introduction, mentioned some terminology that you might be familiar with. The term brand, I think you used, or image. Image in the marketplace is something that people who think about marketing worry about. And we're not there. If I were to ask you to go around the room, what is Eastern Michigan University and where is it headed? Or what is the image of the university in the marketplace? I'll bet I would get anything but unanimity. I would get all kinds of different answers from different people. We had some market research done here at the university, I want to say 2 years ago, by a prominent national market research firm. And the university was attempting to find out what the image was. I really think what they were trying to find out was, how bad is our image in the southeastern Michigan higher education market? And this group came in here and did this extended study and came to conclude that Eastern doesn't have a bad image in the region at all. What it has is no image. No image. So we're starting, here's our marketing strategy right now. Here's the image we're trying to undo. It's a great place to start. I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse if we had to start from a very negative image. Now, the closer you get to the campus, the clearer and perhaps more negative that image gets. But for the most part, in Southfield and Downriver and every place else, much less Traverse City, which is a good hoot and a holler from here, I know that, there is no image to speak of. People can't come to grips with what the university is and where is it headed. So this group was intended to get together and invent this image that we wanted to go toward, invent this future for the university, and we used an approach that we called futures invention. In other words, how is it that we could conceive a destination 5 years hence, and then put in place strategies that would permit us to get to that future. And so what I'd like to do ever so quickly is to share some of the snippets from that work. It's a 7-page document that I'd be happy to get you copies of if you're at all interested in this. But the part of our work took rise from some things in this book, specifically what Jim Collins refers to as the hedgehog concept. Has anybody read this book before? It's Good to Great by Jim Collins. The hedgehog concept is based on the notion of focus. And Collins goes on to say, hedgehogs are not really the brightest animals that God ever created. Would you permit me that? But they can do one thing better than any other animal. They can protect themselves from threats in the environment. They can curl up in a ball, and they're virtually indestructible. Virtually indestructible. And Collins uses that metaphor to talk about this hedgehog concept that he says all companies, all organizations for that matter, need to embrace if they're going to become as good as they can possibly be. And the hedgehog concept is comprised of 3 pieces. And if organizations can answer authoritatively and honestly these 3 questions, and they can behave that way and build their companies around those, they will become world-class companies. And it's based on his research with very successful American companies. But the 3 pieces of the hedgehog concept are these 3 questions, actually. One is, what is your passion? What is it that people in your organization can fly out of bed every morning and get so excited about going to work to do? What can you be passionate about? What can everybody be passionate about? And the second one is, what drives your economic engine? In other words, with companies and with universities, money exchanges hands. You pay money for a certain service and product here, and And that is no small factor in successful companies and organizations. Money has to exchange hands, and people have to be satisfied with what they get for that. So the second one is, what drives your economic engine? And the third part of that hedgehog concept is, what can you be world class at? He contends every company, every organization ought to have an answer to that question. What can you be world class at? What can you do better than any of your competitors in your marketplace? And so we pondered that as we thought about Eastern Michigan University and came up with 3 answers to that. And we've concluded, for example, that what drives our economic engine are first-rate academic programs. I mean, aside from food and parking and bookstore supplies, really the principal commodities that you buy here are academic programs. That's what students buy here. And that's what you pay your tuition and fees for. So they've got to be good. That's what drives our economic engine. Good programs that people are willing to pay a lot of money for over the course of a 4-year experience. It's hardly ever 4 years anymore. Some of you know that. I have 2 sons in college. I know that in Technicolor, that people don't finish in 4 years much anymore. But it's about $15,000 a year if you live on campus. If you don't live on campus, you just deduct $5,000 or $6,000 from that, and that's about what you've got. So it's an expensive kind of a thing. But that's what people pay for mostly at a place like this. And so academic programs drive our economic engine. What can we be passionate about every day? And this is where sticking to our knitting comes into play, as I mentioned earlier. Eastern, for most of its existence, has served people from Southeast Michigan. Not only did students come from Southeast Michigan, but when they graduated, they went back to work in Southeast Michigan. I'll bet most of you, maybe not all of you, there's a errant North Country guy here, and maybe some other people that have other plans, but my guess is most of you are from this region, and you're going to kind of stay in this region, assuming there are some opportunities when you graduate. That would be my hunch. I'm probably correct about that. So we exist to serve people from the region for service back in the region. That's something that we think we can do better than anybody else in our marketplace, whether they're here physically in the marketplace, like a Wayne State, say, or whether they come in electronically, like the University of Phoenix or somebody like that, in an online sort of a way. We think we can be best at that. And the thing that we can be passionate about, and this is a real interesting development and something you're going to be hearing more about in the future, but the thing that we can become most passionate about is something that we call educationally purposeful diversity. And what I mean by that is this. Eastern is one of the most diverse institutions of its size and character in the country today. And we have all kinds of different people that go to school here. It's a wonderful advantage for us. But the fact of the matter is, we don't use it as effectively as we could. We don't leverage it in a way that we could most effectively. It's still possible, I like to pick on Plymouth, Michigan. It's still possible for somebody to commute to Eastern from Plymouth, Michigan for 4 or 5 or 6 years and never have a substantive experience with somebody that's significantly different than they are, whether it's in terms of their age, whether it's in terms of race, whether it's in terms of any of the full range of lifestyle choices or differences, whether it's culture, people from a different society or a different country. It's still possible for people to do that here. And our view is that we need to be sharper about creating an experience where you can't do that here, where you have to, as a function of your education at Eastern, come in contact with all those sorts of differences. And the reason for that is, we believe, that if we can do that, and people graduate from this institution having had those experiences with diversity, that our students, our graduates then, will simply be more valuable in the context of their organizations and in the context of their communities. We know that is absolutely correct.
Hi, I'm Mike Fuqua. I'm a senior here at Eastern Michigan University. We're taping live at the College of Business on the 13th of December. And I have Kyle here with me, and I'm just going to ask him a few quick questions. Kyle, what do you like about Eastern Michigan University?
I like the faculty a lot. I like how our professors are pretty high educated, and they actually do what they teach in real life. I think that's pretty cool.
Great. Kyle and myself the other day had an opportunity to talk with the president of the university. Kyle, what was your feedback in that conversation?
I thought he was a really good guy, really genuine, a lot of charisma about him, and he seems to have the campus going in the right direction once he figures out everything that's gone on in the past. I think it'll be a lot better than previous presidents.
Thanks for your time, Kyle.